My name is Brianne Vales. I am the manager for the Homeless Contribution Income Tax Credit, or HCTC. Many of you we have worked with throughout this year and are so thankful for your participation this year, your patience, your collaboration, and just ultimately the work on the ground you're doing with serving your communities and especially those experiencing homelessness. So ultimately, we're here to support you and are excited about this opportunity to report on the good work that you're doing and what we are collectively as a group, the impact that is being made. So that's ultimately, you know, why we're here and talking about reporting is to really showcase the amount of great work that your organizations are doing. So, Sydney, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. If we have not met before, I'm Sydney. I am the coordinator for the Homeless Contribution Tax Credit Program, working under Brianne for all of the great things that you all are doing. And yeah, just echo thank you for all of your patience and working with us this year. And we're super excited to be able to see all of the progress that we've made in just this first year with the program.
Yeah, we'll start off by talking about what to expect for today. So we're going to go into a little bit of an overview of reporting requirements and that type of thing. And then Sydney will do a demonstration of the reporting form that we have through um, HCTC. Um, and again, this presentation will be recorded and distributed via email so that you can rewatch it, or you can send it to staff at your organization who will be assisting with your reporting. Next slide. So to be clear, the reporting period is for tax year 2023. So it's for January 1st through December 31st. And so we're going to be looking at data for those dates only. The due date for the report is January 15th. So exactly a month from today. I didn't realize that. So a month to go for getting those submissions into us. And one of the reasons that we ask for some of the specific information within the report is that we are required by statute to report on outcomes and outputs of each approved project and address how the needs of those experiencing homelessness are addressed by the activities within your project. We also have to report on the contributions and tax credit per certificates for 2023, but we at DOH will pull that data from our Salesforce platform that all of you have been using to submit your contributions and issue your tax credits. So you do not have to worry about submitting anything regarding those aspects of the report. We will handle that internally. And just to give you an idea, we're capturing aggregate data, unduplicated numbers. So just to give you that framework as you're thinking about what you're submitting regarding your program participants, those who receive services from your projects. Um, we're looking at the holistic numbers of those served while also looking at individuals individually and not duplicating them if they received multiple services at your organization. And ultimately, what we're going to do with the data, we are required to present the review of data to the Colorado State Housing Board. And so we'll be doing that and also share with you some visuals, some stats so that you can see the good work that you all have been doing collectively. And so we hope to be able to do that early next year. Next slide. So I know you're all here to know what do I need to do for this reporting? And we have a great number on the call today. So I'm glad that everyone here is already on top of it and eager to learn. So I'm going to go through a few scenarios because it does depend. We have a wide range of organizations that participate in HCTC and a wide range of um, reporting practices at your organization. And so we tried to address that diversity as simply as we could. So, first of all, we do have a form that we have created internally with within DOH that Sydney's going to go over at the end of this presentation. Um, and so uh, you will need to complete this form if you have these three project types. So if you have operational services, that includes case management, job placement, workforce ready services, or a capital campaign, that form is the only collection method for these activities. We'll talk about HMIS on the next slide, but the reason for this is because the service types of case management and job placement are not included within HMIS at all. And so we wanted to collect information for those categories. And then as well for the capital campaign, this is pretty much our only option as a collection method for those as well. So some of you may be familiar with the Colorado Homeless Management Information System, or HMIS for short. We'll be referring to it as HMIS. And so if your organization does submit participant data within HMIS, some questions to ask, is the participant data within HMIS, is that included for each of your HCTC projects? And that may require some communication within your organization as far as what is encompassed within your HMIS project. So if you do have an HMIS project, you will need to pull a CAPER report. And there are instructions within the instruction guide that Sydney sent out to your organizations via email. And so the support for that is really through, the support for that is not internally. So Sydney and I do not have access to HMIS. We can't help you pull your report, but there are options in place for a training video on how to do so if you do not know how to pull a CAPER report and that type of thing in the guide that Sydney created and provided. If your organization does not use HMIS, we ask you to submit the HCTC form for any of your HCTC projects that are not included in HMIS. So for example, your organization does not participate within HMIS at all. It's not a requirement, even though it is encouraged for this reason, for reporting, for one reason. But say your organization says HMIS was not a good fit for us this year, and we did not participate. Then we do ask for you to complete the HCTC form for all subcategories within your HCTC project. And so within the email that Sydney sent out to your organization, the subcategories are conveniently listed there for you. Another organization example may be that your organization may submit some information into HMIS, but not for all the subcategories included in your HCTC project. So an example of this might be, just throwing it out there, your HCTC projects includes shelter subcategory and outreach. And your organization uses HMIS on a regular basis to submit information regarding your shelter participants. However, for whatever reason, you don't have uh, a project within HMIS for your outreach activities. In that case, we would ask for you to submit data for those subcategories that are not included in HMIS. And Cindy will show you how to select those subcategories within the form. So again, it's going to require some communication and collaboration within your organizations to really understand, okay, is everything, included within HMIS, or do we actually just have, a particular specific HMIS project that doesn't include the more comprehensive HCTC project. So thanks for hanging in there on this slide. Um, any questions on this slide so far? We'll pause for any questions.
Yeah,
I
hey
do.
Brianna, it's Laura from Family Tree.
Go ahead, Laura.
So I put it in the chat, but if we've got multiple rapid and permanent supportive housing programs active in HMIS, do you want those capers separately for every single funding stream, or can we run them together as one rapid rehousing caper and one permanent supportive housing caper?
Great question. I would say you could run those together in that situation.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense to me too. All right, thanks.
And we will have time for Q&A at the end. But I know this was kind of complex on this slide. Any other HMIS specific questions? Okay, next slide. We will address domestic violence organizations. You also are a little bit unique because you do not enter information into HMIS. Instead, you use Cafe HUD. Some of you at least do. And so we also ask for you to pull up a CAPER report for each of your HCTC projects. Sorry, that's a typo. For each of your HCTC projects. And so pretty much similar approach to the previous slide that I just discussed. If your organization, for whatever reason, does not use Cafe HUD or HMIS, then you would use the HCTC form exclusively. Next slide, please.
All right, I think it's time to show what the form will look like. Going through all of like a couple different examples, because as with everything with HCTC, we give a lot of options. So there's lots of options in how to conduct your reporting, like Brianne was talking about. Just to take a second to talk about the emails that you all received and the project categories that are listed. I did my best to organize based on the project name and what to submit for each project. And then also, if you told us that you are in HMIS or CAFE, that is specified of, okay, HMIS or CAFE should cover, if it is all reported in there, all of these project subcategories that you have listed for that project. If there's an additional case management or job readiness type for that same project, I tried to list that under the same project as well, so that you know, okay, yes, this project is one of those unique ones that requires the CAPER and the annual reporting form, or if it's just a CAPER, or if it's just the annual reporting form. But of course, you know your organization's reporting methods far better than I do. So if that is incorrect at all within the email, please go ahead and adjust that. If you need to add another subcategory to the annual reporting form, please do so, so that we're capturing everything accurately for your organization. But just tried to lay it out as best as I could based on the information that we have for all of you. And each of the subcategory types that are listed are, again, what's provided to us per project and what was included in your annual review that we did in September. So yes. So to go over the form, I know we've gotten a couple emails today that the form link in the email specifically goes to like you have to log in. If you click the login in the top right corner and you either use your username and password from when you submitted contributions via the old form pre-Salesforce, that should log you right in, or you can create a new username and password if you have not used Access Gov in the past for that old contribution form. But I used the wrong link last night in the email. I was already logged in, and so it takes you to a funky page instead of this front page. But if you access the reporting guide, the link is in that guide multiple times throughout the document, and those all take you directly to this page. So that should help. So I apologize for that. It was working for me, so I thought it would work for everyone else, but now we're good to go. So when you access the annual reporting form, you are required to log in. This is because this will help with saving your progress. We don't want you to enter all of this stuff and have no way for it to save, but if you log in, there's a place for it to save. So you start by logging in, and then we'll go over 3 different scenarios for this form. So the first one I'm going to run through is an organization who uses HMIS for their operational services. Let's say they have like shelter operational services, but they also have a capital campaign. So they have the HMIS CAPER report that's good to go for their project 1. That's just operational services. And then their second project, their capital campaign, they have to fill out an annual reporting form. So I'm just gonna quickly go through and add all kinds of information. You have to enter your organization name, FEIN. For your project name, it is a drop down. That way we make sure there's no like misconceptions with what the project names are or anything. So you search by your organization name first, and then your project name after the line. So I am just going to pick a random one because we do not have a test in here. So Salvation Army, I'm going to use you guys as a test. This will be deleted, so don't worry. And then that won't count for your form. And then you'll put your name or whoever is filling out the form and their email address. And that's all you need for organization info. After that, you click next, and that's where you get to the good reporting information. So you'll select whether it's capital campaign or operational service. This is a capital campaign project. They are working on building supportive housing. So as you can see, some information changed down here as soon as I selected the project type. So this is that key information that's in the email that was sent yesterday. Making sure you're selecting the accurate project type so that you're reporting on everything that we have selected for you guys. So for supportive housing, you'll click that, and then you'll have the quantitative reporting needs. So the total annual number of unique persons that will be served in the future. I'm just going to put 1 to make things easy, and the total number of units will be 1 as well. The qualitative information, the anticipated date. So we'll do 12/31 of 2024, let's say. The address, in Denver, Colorado. And then the name of the building that will house the project. And then the advancements in services or operations that are able to be achieved through HCTC. I'm just going to put tests for now to zoom through. And then the program or service name supported by the project. This will be really helpful for when this capital campaign project eventually turns into an operational services project within HCTC. We already have the knowledge and the names of things like that. And so that will be good to go. So that is all of the information for this type of capital campaign. And then you just click submit. Are you sure you want to submit? Yes. And then the form is submitted. You have an option here to download the submission so that you have a copy of everything that you've just entered, so that you know, okay, yes, this is accurate, good things like that. I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. So this is a key point too to keep in mind. If you have multiple projects, that means that multiple annual forms will need to be submitted. So at this point, let's just say that this first project also has another project they need to submit for. They'd go up here to the directory and use this list to find the HCTC annual report. All of these other options are for other Division of Housing programs, so please make sure we're selecting the HCTC annual report. Open, and then it takes you right back to the start. You don't need to log back in or anything like that. If you do log out, you can just reuse the link from before, and it'll take you right to the same place. But so now, pretending we are a whole other organization where our operational services are a shelter and outreach services and case management. But we use HMIS. So our shelter and our outreach services are included in the CAPER report. We know that we have all of those numbers included in HMIS and in that report that's being sent to us, but those case management numbers need to be accounted for. So now we'll start the form and we have to enter the organization information in there again. Salvation Army, I'm so sorry. I'm just going to keep using you guys to keep it consistent. The name of the staff submitting the form. It's all the same information each time. And then next. All right, and so from here, you'll select operational service. All of these will come auto-checked, looks like, and so make sure that you are selecting your operational services that are required. So for us, even though it is support or shelter and outreach for our operational services and case management, again, these two already have numbers accounted for. So we're just submitting for case management. So with this as well, this demographics section is asking for the demographics of the entire project that includes all three of those. To keep from everyone having to do the math and for simplicity's sake, and also just to make sure, again, there's no duplicate numbers, you can just enter, if you are submitting an HMIS CAPER and completing a form with case management or job readiness, you can just enter zeros for this project specifically, only if you are also submitting a CAPER for these operational services. Again, just to make sure everything is accurate, we're not increasing the numbers in any way. This will go for all demographics until all of these little red notes disappear, saying that we need to complete the sections. You'll also notice that all of this information matches up with what is in HMIS. We're trying to keep the consistency there as much as possible and not adding any additional data to be collected. So that's for all of the demographics, and then also exit destination outcomes. This is also typically captured in HMIS or CAFE. But again, if you are submitting a caper for a project, but adding case management, you can add zeros to this section as well. If you need to reference what any of these exit destination outcomes may be, we have an annual report data elements guide that we sent out a couple weeks to everybody, a couple weeks ago to everybody. Please reference that for further guidance on each of these exit destination outcomes. So now at the bottom, we're getting to our case management outcomes. This is going to be strictly for your case management specific participants. Keep in mind that all of the numbers in this group should add up to your total number of case management participants throughout the year. So again, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to say that there's one of each, a very small organization, but I have zero that I collected no data on. And so it adds up to my 4 total participants. Going down to the length of continuous participation in case management, we want to make sure these numbers down here match with these numbers up here. Because if there's 4 participants receiving outcomes, there should be 4 participants also matching down here in the length of participation. So we'll go ahead and do one of each again, but none over a year and none with data not collected. If you want to double check your numbers, or if you're leaving some of these blank, this save and exit button works out well so that you can come back to the data that you've already entered. But I'm going to go ahead and submit again. Yes, I'm sure I want to submit. And now I have another successful entry for my second organization. And so lastly, I'm going to go back to the directory and we'll look at what it's like to complete a form for somebody, for an organization that is not at all in HMIS or CAFE. That's totally fine as well. That's not a requirement for HCTC. I'm going to skip over all of this information, go straight to the annual report to keep it simple. But so we're going to say this organization has one project of an operational service that serves shelter and outreach. You'll notice that because they're not in HMIS, even though they don't have case management or workforce development, this is still the form. This is how we're completing reporting. So all of the demographics must equal to the total number of participants within both of those projects, both the shelter and the outreach projects. So again, I'm just going to do 1 across the board. I have 0 that there's data not collected. But let's say we're collecting gender, but we're not collecting age groups. For some reason, that's the demographics we're not collecting at this time. If that's the case, we're going to enter 0 in all of these age ranges, but we're going to enter our total number of participants into data not collected. Because we know from the gender, we have 5 participants, but we know that we also have 5 individuals that we served. We don't know their ages. Totally fine. Same thing over here. We're just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then keep that all at 0 just to keep our numbers consistent again. Physical and mental health conditions, we didn't collect again. We have 2 and 3 over here. And then our exit destination outcomes, again, all of that should equal that same 5 number or whatever your total number of clients served is. So we have 0 here. They all made it to a permanent situation. Very successful year. And then now we get to the bottom where outreach efforts is an additional category where we are going to look specifically at the organization's outreach programming and identify which of these clients were served there, and add the numbers for that specific program within our HCTC project. So our number of persons contacted, we'll put it at, there's only 2 of them out of our 5 served that were in there. And then after that, that's completed. And that's the entire annual report for an organization, not an HMIS or cafe, that is still needing to report on their operational services project. You'll notice, sorry to scroll up, that if we do select every single project type, which I don't think there is a single organization that has every single project type within a project, but that there are certain program or project types that have additional questions that will only appear if you select that project type. So again, make sure that you're following along with what was included in that email to make sure you're not over answering or under answering for any project type situation. But so yes. And so we'll submit, oh, actually we don't want to do that. But those are 3 of the most common scenarios that I noticed when sending out emails yesterday. But I am happy to answer any questions as well.
We did have a few questions in the chat that I'll just bring to the larger group. So for example, on that capital campaign, just clarifying those numbers served that we're asking for is just an estimate of how many people in a year's time that you would expect to be served by that building that is going to be completed with your capital project. You know, you may have a good idea of that, you may not, but we're just hoping to get a ballpark there. Regarding, Sydney, if you can go to operational services, regarding the demographics, the reason for some of these demographics selections is that we are trying to be consistent with HMIS and the data elements that they collect. So if you think some of the wording on some of these is odd just throughout the report, you know, we're just trying to be consistent so that on our end we can combine everything. So just to let you know on that, we did have a question on race and ethnicity. So previously within HMIS, I believe, from my understanding, these used to be collected separately. Race is one, and then ethnicity is different. But now they're looked at as one category. And so we did have a question about what if someone is, for example, Black and also Hispanic. And so in that case, you would select multiracial, 2 or more races and ethnicity. And we do know that race and ethnicity are technically 2 different ways to categorize someone's heritage, but just for the sake of consistency with HMIS, we're looking at them in this way. Checking the chat for more questions here. In the second case, HMIS for shelter and supportive housing, the HCTC form for case management, the only number we need to enter are for case management objectives, question mark. Yes, that is correct. So in that case, your first 2 subcategories are covered with HMIS, but HMIS unfortunately does not have an option to include case management. So you would just select case management there and do as Sydney demonstrated, just basically skipping over everything and submitting actual numbers for the case management category.
And for reference, again, because we know this is a lot to take in, like I said, in the annual reporting guide, all 3 of these examples are included at the very bottom of that guide so that you can read through it, jog your memory of, okay, I have an HMIS caper, but I also have case management. What am I to do again? Hopefully that will help to jog the memory. And then it's listed under the case management section. as well. Because again, there are so many different varying types of projects and reporting processes for all of you out there. Tried to put lots of different types of scenarios down at the bottom there. I'll take it back to the PowerPoint.
Sydney, do you want to show what it looks like when someone submits, or did I?
Yeah.
Because
they
you
get
can
the
access that the spreadsheet
Mhm.
or PDF rather after you submit it.
Oops, I didn't complete the organization information on this one. Let me go through and do that one more time. So yes, just all right. Next, it'll take us back. You can only submit from the operational services or capital campaign section. So when the form is submitted, you can download the submission. It goes to your downloads. And then you'll be able to see all of that information that you just entered in, which service type you selected, what you've entered. So that's able to be collected on your end. And then it'll also, once you log in, you can select this done button over on the left under my forms, which just joking. But you should be able to download that from there. Sorry, I'm used to the contributions form where you could see your contributions under the done tab.
I believe that it is supposed to be accessed there. So
We'll check with our data.
yeah, we can check on that.
Any other questions on this before I go back to the PowerPoint?
Sydney, real quick, if you do this report and then go submit it and then look at it and you realize there's an error, can you go back and edit?
Once you submit it, you cannot go back and edit.
You cannot.
But if you realize that and you want to reach out, go for it. What we would probably have you do is just resubmit the form from scratch. And then we'll just know to delete that previous form that you submitted. Awesome. I'll take it back to the PowerPoint and pass it back to Brianne.
Okay, thank you for that really detailed overview, Sydney. Just a reminder again on the resources we have the reporting guide that is completely like Sydney putting it together, very step by step. So thank you and kudos to her for that. We also have a data elements guide. So if you're looking through and you're like, what does this field mean? I don't understand, what the definition of this is. You can look at that data elements guide to look at those definitions and really understand the terms that we're looking at. And also a reminder, we have office hours planned for next week on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Just click on the Zoom link to join. Hope to see you there if you do have questions. We wanted to be available if you do have questions about your report once you actually start to dig in. And then we have some contact information there. I did want to give an update that I will be going on maternity leave beginning the end of next week at the latest. And so Sydney is going to continue to do an awesome job in serving you all and making sure the program runs smoothly. She's been integral throughout her entire time this year. And so have no qualms about how she is going to handle things while I'm out, but just wanted to be clear on her phone number there if you do need to reach her and using the shared inbox. I know some of you have really done a lot of communication with us through that shared inbox, DOLA _HCTC. at state.co.us. And so that's going to be the best way to get a response from Sydney or another OHI employee who's able to assist you. We also just want to clarify that, you know, just like this is a busy time for you all, this is going to be a busy time for us with deadlines, with reporting and contributions and all of that in the next couple of months. And so just to manage expectations that we do value your questions and concerns, but may not, you know, just give us at least 24 business hours to respond to those questions that are sent in the inbox. So when I say 24 business hours, that's like 3 business days starting at the time that you send in your question, in a general sense. So we do want to make sure you're served, but we also do have a lot of materials on our website that are there for your convenience to be able to find information in our handbook or our guides and really troubleshoot. But we also realize there are specific situations just throughout this whole year, specific situations have come up. And so we know you need to reach out and we want to help you. Just please be understanding on that. And so, yeah, I think that's all of the information we wanted to share today. We appreciate the great attendance and encourage you to forward the presentation once the recording is sent out. Go ahead and forward that to anyone in your organization who needs this reporting information. So, and thanks for the congratulations in the chat. So it's been good to work with you, and I will see you next year. Enjoy the holidays.